Ciao, amici, and welcome back to Experience Italy with Friends. This episode is extra special because it marks 1 full year since we made the leap and moved to Italy in search of la dolce vita. But what does that really mean? And now, a year later, did we actually find it? Today, we're reflecting on that journey, and we're joined by somebody who helped us turn our dream into a reality, Sam Wilson from Smart Move Italy. Sam's going to share her own story and what she's learned from helping so many others take the leap. So stick around. It's going to be inspiring. Andiamo! Experience Italy with Friends is a travel and lifestyle podcast where we will explore our favorite destinations and hidden gems, share key travel tips and cultural insights, and provide real-time updates about our move to this remarkable country. Join me, Tanya Razzo, an Italian travel expert and founder of Amici Vacations, and my Italian husband and producer, Davide Razzo, on a journey that is sure to inspire you and prepare you to create immersive and authentic experiences of your own in the beautiful country of Italy. Welcome back, Amici. We're so glad you're here with us today.
Ciao, everyone, and thanks for tuning in again. We've got a really great episode lined up for you, especially if you ever thought to make the leap and move yourself to Italy.
But first, Davide, let's catch up a little bit. You know, we just spent a few weeks in Calabria and just got back here to Montepulciano. You know, it's so hard to believe summer is ending and we're heading into fall.
I know. And, that was the first time I experienced Ferragosto, the actual holiday. And, I don't know. I think it met my expectations. And let me tell you guys what we did. So most Italians, they either spend Ferragosto either on the beach, having picnic and stuff like that, or they do what we did, go into a restaurant and have a meal with friends. And so we did that. So we went to a restaurant and...
Up in the mountain?
Yeah. So what was different though, I was surprised was not the fixed menu we had, but that they waited until every guest, which were about 200 people there, right, Tanya?
Yeah, I would say that.
So they waited until everyone was there before they served food. And they kind of felt like a wedding.
I was just going to say that. I totally felt like I was at an Italian wedding. And especially when they brought out the karaoke. And I had to listen to some really poor singers and children and grandparents get up and perform. And I was like, okay, this is definitely a festival, but it felt like, a very old school Italian wedding. And I tried to get you to get up there and sing.
No, and you can't get me up there. I quit performing 15 years ago. So I'm not singing live anymore. And I know why. So,
but it was fun. It was entertaining. It was a thunderstorm while we were there. So a little bit different of a day. But, overall, I loved being in Calabria for August. And, Ferragosto, as we explained before, it's kind of it's not just the day. It's the weeks before and after. And I loved it. We spent a lot of time on the beach. I got to see how Italians really slow down and enjoy summer. And the beaches were packed. We got to explore some new towns. Mm-hmm. Praia Amare, Pizzo, Scilla, Soverato.
Which one was your favorite?
I have to say it was Pizzo.
Ah.
And I don't know if I just like the name Pizzo because I always think of pizza. It's pizza.
Is it because of the tartufo?
It is a little bit because this tartufo, everyone, is a gelato. And they make it more like a cake, kind of like a mini gelato cake.
Yeah, and there's hot fudge, not hot. There's fudge inside.
Yeah.
And then it's covered either with pistachio or what you hate is the hazelnut. Yes. I love it.
Well, I had a coffee one and with fudge and it was amazing. But it has an amazing piazza. We walked around. We went both one evening and then we went back for an afternoon to have, a birthday lunch for your dad. And the town is just really cute and it sits on the cliff. It's near Tropea. And I can't believe we haven't been there before in these 25 years.
Well,
or at least
I have. So, and
I couldn't remember.
Our son Luca has been there several times because Nonna brought them there.
Yeah. Well, somehow I was omitted from those visits. And then we went to Scilla, which was another town that we hadn't been to because I think we always would go to Tropea. And we would just kind of pass by Pizzo and Sheila. And I really like Sheila as well because it had like this Cinque Terre vibe to it. The buildings kind of look like that perched on the cliff and had a nice beach. We stayed at Lido and we stayed for dinner and had great seafood. And, what I have to say about Calabria, for the most part is they've got really clear waters. It's beautiful and the beaches are great. And I'm always like surprised, like it's August and it's super hot, but the water is actually kind of chilly.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So.
I don't know how it stays that way, but anyway, overall, I loved our time there.
Yeah, and now we're back. Now we're back in Montepulciano. And
we are, and we got here just in time for an event that I have been looking forward to all year. I mean, we talked about this way back in our Val d'Orcia episode that Montepulciano is known for this event called the Bravio.
Yeah.
And it's similar in many respects to like the Palio in Siena that we talked about. And we mentioned the Contrade and that how there are all these neighborhoods in the city and that they compete. And so each town in Tuscany, I feel like, has their version of that. And Montepulciano is this rolling a wine barrel.
The 75-kilo wine barrel.
Up the hill. And for those of you, we've talked about Montepulciano, but it is a hillside town and it's one of the highest hills. Like it is a constant incline.
Yeah.
I would say at like 7%, 10%.
More. Some ramps are like almost 20%.
Yeah,
so they're rolling that thing up there. So
it's practically a mile from bottom to top at a constant incline. So I've always been like looking forward to seeing how they actually are going to roll up this wine barrel. But it's not just Sunday that we're looking forward to. It's coming up.
It's been going on all week. What we've been doing, we've been helping out in one of the contrade, La Contrada dei Collazzi. So we are volunteering there and helping out at their stand, at their food stand to be precise. And they're serving food like pici, gnocchi. And each contrada has a specialty to offer. Like one is just doing like the Fiorentina. Our contrada is specialized in the duck.
Yes.
So we have ragu, a duck ragu, or they also do like a braised duck.
Roasted duck. It is so good. Duck, yes. So the first night we ate there and just were participating. And then we went back each night and we've been working. And I've been in the kitchen, much to probably Davide's surprise. And I have been manning the pasta station and helping to dish up the pasta, whether it's gnocchi or pici, and which sauce to put on it, the ragu or the duck, which I've learned in kind of Tuscan lingo around here is called nana.
The nana.
So I have one pici con nana.
Yeah. And I've been bussing tables the whole time. So actually, when I arrived last night, they were all applauding. Yeah, our bus boy is here.
No, it's been a fun week and I'm so happy to be here. And we've got friends coming this weekend to participate in it with us. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. But let's switch some gears here and let's dive into today's episode, Tanya. It's a special one. Why?
It is. First of all, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary of living in Italy. September 3rd, 2024, we boarded that plane, flew over the pond, and made the leap into Italy.
And we didn't jump.
Not literally, figuratively. We made a very big jump.
And if you want to hear all about it, you can go back to our episode 4, which we extensively talked about it. So
we did, and it was exciting. And then I was reminded that it was 2 years ago that we discovered Smart Move Italy. And we joined their annual boot camp, which gave us the tools and confidence to even make this dream possible. So, I thought it was a perfect moment to reflect on this past year, talk about what we thought La Dolce Vita meant when we got on that plane, what it's actually proven to be over this last year.
Yeah, and since Smart Move Italy helped us so much, we invited Sam Wilson, as she calls herself, the Chief Dream Maker, to join us.
Yes, I am so excited for this conversation. I know Sam will have amazing advice for anyone out there who's dreaming of Italy.
Okay, Tanya, you talked about La Dolce Vita before, and we talked about other times. And what did La Dolce Vita mean to you back then, before we moved?
Well, we were always dreaming of retiring in Italy one day. And, but after COVID and with the kids grown, we realized we didn't want to wait. And so as I was thinking about La Dolce Vita, it was really all about achieving a simpler life, having more balance between work and living, focusing on experiences instead of things, and, wanting to do more travel again, that travel and adventure that's so important to us, and really about living in a happy place. And Italy has been our happy place for more than 25 years now.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, for me, it also meant slowing down. And, in the US, we had this very busy life, especially me. In the last year we were there, I worked like 3 jobs. And for me, it was like, okay, it's time to slow down. But it's not just slowing down. For me, La Dolce Vita meant also, joining a culture that enjoys food and enjoys the people and the company and all that. And, and everything seems for us very slow, but it's totally normal. And I'm happy with that. So, but now, Tanya, the bigger question is, did we actually find it?
Big question. And, overall, I think so. We did. But I've also realized that La Dolce Vita isn't something that is waiting here and to be discovered. It's something that you need to create for yourself.
Yeah, it's not waiting here for you. It's not like, hey, here we are, Dolce Vita. No, you're right. You need to create it, right? So
yeah, and I guess let's expand a little bit more on what we mean by that. You have to create it. It's a mindset shift. You really need to intentionally slow down. Mm-hmm. You need to simplify your life, and for us, it was a lot of our lifestyle. I mean, having less stuff. Downsizing from the big house to an apartment, really valuing experiences. And overall, I was wondering, could we have done this in the US? Like, yes, we could have downsized. We became empty nesters. We could have simplified. But I really think the culture of Italy and, the cost of living here really enables this opportunity to search for La Dolce Vita and to slow down and be intentional and give us this opportunity to downsize, to be self-employed, follow our dreams.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it on our way back from Calabria to Montepulciano that, we earned much more money, but we spent more money. And here we earn less, but we are also spending less.
Yeah.
So it's
and that's part of the grind in the US, I think, is that because cost of living is so high, that you need to have these big jobs and high-paying jobs that usually come with a lot of stress and a lot of hours. And it kind of perpetuates the grind. And here, because you can live more simply and the cost of living is great, in many ways, I feel like our disposable income we were talking about has stayed largely the same. And
right.
The key thing is that we don't have to have room in our budget for these big, expensive vacations.
Yes.
That we went on to kind of find our happy place. And now we live in our vacation place and we get to every other day is a pinch me moment or, hey, let's get in the car and go to the coast or let's drive to Calabria or let's spend the weekend in Siena. So there's definitely so many more opportunities for us to have that vacation without having to spend the big bucks like we used to.
Yeah. So bottom line, Tanya, La Dolce Vita is a change of your mindset with changing your lifestyle, right? So you need to create it.
You do, but Italy gives you a great stage to live it out.
That's so true.
And, it hasn't been easy being here. There definitely has some challenges, but overall, this past year has been amazing. And any hiccup, any challenge has been so worth it and absolutely no regrets.
Yeah, and of course, we didn't get here alone, right? There was a lot of work we put behind this dream. And That's where Smart Move Italy came in for us.
You're absolutely right. 2 years ago, we were so focused on our why. Why did we want to move to Italy? Then came the bigger question. How? How do you get here? And, we did a ton of research online, started poking around, and that's when I came across Smart Move Italy's Facebook group and learned about their boot camp. And that boot camp was really critical in getting us to really think strategically about this move. And it gave us the structure and the pathway and really the confidence to turn this dream of ours into a reality. And how does one do the planning?
I know. And I remember when we got in Italy a year ago, we got off that plane and we was like, hey, we're here. And it wasn't like, we're here.
No, we felt great. And, I'm so glad we found her.
Yeah. So, the best part is that Sam is hosting another boot camp, which starts on September 9th and goes through the 11th. And it is free for everyone, okay? So you can join. We're going to share that link where you can join on the description notes below where you listen to our podcast here. And trust us, though, it's the perfect start. If you're really thinking to move to Italy, it's the perfect start.
I agree, Davide. It's the perfect launch to anyone seriously considering moving to Italy. And, I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome Sam Wilson, Chief Dream Maker at Smart Move Italy, to join us here today. Well, hi, Sam. I'm so excited to welcome you to our podcast. You had us on your podcast, A New Life in Italy, back in February, and I'm so glad we get to chat again.
Yeah, me too. I always love chatting with you guys. How are you? Good? Good?
We're doing good. Yeah. It's been a long, hot summer, but we've been enjoying it and seeing more of Italy, so it's been great.
Nice. Very good. Summer goes fast.
It does, surprisingly. And even the whole year went fast.
But we're getting younger as the years go on. We're going the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. We're feeling younger.
That's true.
So we already shared with our listeners that we joined your Move to Italy boot camp webinar 2 years ago. To be here now talking with you from our home in Italy feels like we have come full circle, Sam.
Yeah, I know.
Who would have thought that we were listening to you in Minnesota 2 years ago? Now we're here chatting with you in Italy.
I know. And I feel so lucky, honestly. I really do. Because not only do I, get to meet a ton of people, but then I get to meet and get to know people like you who, if it wasn't for, I guess, technology or for a shared dream, we would never have connected. And I always say this to people, that you let me come on your journey to some degree is really, I'm really grateful for that. So thanks for coming to the boot camp. And I'm so happy you're in Montepulciano, right?
Yeah, we also love the actual meet in person that was just right afterwards, organized in Florence. And we happened to be there and we saw a lot of people like us and planning to move to Italy. And that was very nice. So
yeah, it was great to have a community. Yeah. Well, Sam, before we dive into talking about Smart Move Italy, I thought we'd start out learning a little bit more about you because you always make Italy the star, but I want to put the spotlight on you for a little bit. And, start with your story. What first brought you to Italy? When did you move here and how did you end up living here yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't always talk about it because it's not because it's secret or anything. I just am always more interested in other people than I am in myself. So I don't normally go into that. But for me, Italy, honestly, we came to my mom and I, my dad died of cancer back in 2001. And when he died, it was very quick. He was diagnosed and died very quickly. And it was unexpected. And we were very devastated. He was really the center of my life and my mom's and my sisters. So all of us girls got, really upset. So my mom and I said, let's just get out of here. And we decided to go to Europe, which we had, we lived in England. I'm part British, so Europe wasn't unfamiliar to us, but Italy was for sure. And I'm talking a long time ago. So we didn't have Google Earth and all of the ways to be able to see where we were going. It was really quite, a mystery to us in a way. So we ended up in France at first and loved it, the south of France in Nice. And then we ended up getting on a train to Milan and didn't know what we were doing. And I remember being on this train and my mom and I were looking out the window and, we just have movies in our head because we didn't we, the train tracks run through maybe not always the best parts of Italy, of course. And, all the big, tall, not even tall, but the apartment buildings with all the laundry hanging out and blowing in the dirt and all of those things. And we thought, oh my goodness, like what kind of country is this? Is this really where we want to be? Because we came from, Nice. We were in southern France. And we end up in Milan. We get in a teeny car and we drive up to Lake Garda. And I don't even know why we ended up there, but we ended up there. We stayed in Salo, which is in this little town on the way up. And the hotel we chose, and to this day, I'm still trying to find it, but I can't remember what it was. I guess it was more dreamy. And we went in and we rented a suite. And I remember even the shampoo was incredible. It was this local stuff, and it smelled like pomegranates. I remember stuffing my bag full of the little toiletries because I loved it. And then we went for dinner, and every single sense that we had, like all of the taste and the people and the smells and the feeling, everything was just so electric. I guess it's the best way to describe it. Like we really couldn't believe where we were, just the hospitality and the feeling and it's hard to articulate even after all these years. And I knew that this was someplace super special. We were pretty, naive about it. Ended up in Venice, as you do, and then went down to Siena. Ended up in Siena and in the Grand Hotel in Siena. And we go in, we get our room, we open up the windows. And I always tell this story because really startling to me. And we get into this room and it had all these huge frescoes, real, not Disneyland frescoes. Yeah. I mean, the real thing. And so we're in there and I open up the windows and it was all these red rooftops of Siena. And I just was completely breathless, really. And I thought, this is really it. There cannot be a more beautiful place than this. And so I said to my mom, okay, that's it. I'm done. And I went downstairs and found the internet cafe, which we had then.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And down
I remember those.
Down a little alley. Things have changed. So down a little alley, and I sent I think maybe it was even AOL message to my husband and said, get the kids, pack up. I'm not coming home. We're moving to Italy. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I realized, I came down from the high, but I realized that time wasn't the best time for us. But it really, at that moment, it set it in stone that this was going to be our future, and hopefully sooner than later. And also at that time, not just was the internet available or not available, but I was also, I'm part British. So this is way before Brexit. So we were able to move to Italy as a UK citizen without having to do any visas or anything. So that was our pathway in. But now we're, 10 years in, and this is more home to us. I never go back to Canada. This is our home, and I can't imagine living anywhere else.
So I was just about to say that, or ask you, does it feel like home? And you just answered that. And yeah, so.
Well, how long did it take to feel like home, though?
That's a good question, because it did. I don't know the moment that I started reversing it. I used to say, back home in Canada or back home. And then it reversed somehow. And I would say, well, if I was somewhere else, I'd go, well, back home in Florence or back home in Italy. And I noticed it at one time. I don't remember when, but maybe it took a while, maybe 4 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, quite a long time. I'm a creature of habit. So I guess just to naturally say it was home, it took a while. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we talked a little bit earlier before we brought you on about the concept of la dolce vita. Mm-hmm. And how would you define that term? And have you seen it evolve over time, like how you would describe it?
Well, I actually think that people feel that sense and that sweetness at the beginning of their journey. And that honeymoon phase is when I think it is the most impactful, where it really feels special and amazing and unique. And, in all honesty, as time goes on, your life is life. And Italy is another country that you live in that has a lot of better things for me anyway, than Canada had. So it has more pros than cons. But as time goes on and as you progress through life here, you realize that, yes, it's sweet and it's wonderful. And there's this balance between lifestyle and health and work and all of these things that's acceptable in Italy, which makes Italy so important or so lovely. But it still is life. So the dolce vita doesn't last for 10 years. But mind you, I still get a little shocked at times. I still get hit with it because, as I said, I'm a bit of a creature of habit. So I look back, on my life in Canada, for example, and I still compare every so often. And in a good way, like I think, oh my goodness, I can't believe this still happens in Italy. And how, we're in Sardinia right now at our house in Sardinia. And I took a bunch of local art that I had bought to a framing company. And, they don't take any money. They just take your name and they say, I'll WhatsApp you when it's done. And it's, it's so affordable and it's just so local and so human. So those things I think still reminds me a little dolce vita, but, life is life wherever you are.
Exactly. It's just simple, the vita.
Vita. Exactly. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks. We learned a little bit about you, but let's move into Smart Move. And, what inspired you to start Smart Move Italy? And was it intentional? Did you stumble into it? Sort of like I stumbled into travel planning, it seemed, because others would come to me for advice and it just kind of turned into a job. So where did that come about? And I guess where did even Smart Move name come? What inspired you?
Certainly was not intentional. In fact, my intention was to try every wine in every region and every town in Italy. I came here retired, remember? To be retired, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. So I've always had businesses of my own. I've always kept really active and busy. So the first few years here was exactly that. I mean, we just did a lot of traveling. We hosted a lot of friends and we had actually apartments for rent in Cortona, which is where we used to live. And we had a guest actually who I still am in contact with. And we took her out for wine one night and she was asking me, how did you move? And, just had the general questions. And because I'm a problem solver and I had to do everything myself because back then there wasn't a Smart Move Italy. And you just had to wing it and made lots of mistakes. So as I was telling her, she says, you know what? You really should do this for people. You really should start a business. And I said, are you crazy? Number one, I don't want to work. Number two, who would pay for this? Like, who would hire me? You can do it. And she says, no, really. There's a lot of people that really would appreciate the help and the insight and my connections. I, knew a lot of people. And one thing just led to another. And quickly though, COVID happened. And then Smart Move was before that. But then when COVID hit, we started doing boot camps. And because everybody was online and this, was a great way. We had lots of attention because, everybody was stuck inside and dreaming. And it just kind of grew from there. One thing led to another. Now there's 26 of us at Smart Move Italy, and we do pretty much everything to help people from beginning to end moving to Italy.
Speaking of dreaming, you call yourself the Chief Dream Maker. How did that come about?
It just came out one day because I really believe that moving to Italy is incredibly personal. I don't believe it's a transaction in any way. And there's so many reasons that people make the move that you can't be like a company. Although we're a company and we operate very properly, regular and all of those things. But I don't think a CEO fits what we do and what I do. I really believe that, I'm the chief dream maker because that's what we're doing in everything that we do. And we really do that in an intentional way and we take it very seriously.
I love that. And, for those listening who may not know, can you give us a little bit of a snapshot of what Smart Move Italy does? I know you have your membership of which we participated in. And outside of that, I know you have different lines of service and support. So maybe just provide a brief overview for our listeners.
Sure. So we really help with everything. It's easier to say the only thing we do not do is help people find work. So we're not an HR firm. But really what we do is we take it from the very beginning of where the learning and the education stage is. The stage one, which is what we call it, is where you're learning about the idea of maybe moving to Italy. So we have a whole education component and community component, like you mentioned, our membership, our New Life in Italy membership. And then we also bring you right through to when you're ready. We have a whole visa division, a legal visa division. It's not just consultants, these are lawyers. We also have a whole residency side to help you with the bureaucracy. We have a fully licensed estate agency that helps you with the renting or property purchase. We have a whole citizenship division. So what happens is when you come into our world, you usually need a number of things. And as you know, moving to Italy, everything is connected. So one action always is like a domino. Something else will happen. And if you're not paying attention to the outlining things that you need in 1 year, 5 years in the future, and you make a decision now, it could impact what you wanted in 5 years from now. So we always look at it at the complete package, the complete dream. And we say, okay, here's what you need now. We can help you with everything. So it's in line for what you want to be at the end in 5 years from now, including our taxes. We're actually just opening up our tax and financial side as well to help people align that concern, which is a big one and should be for people. So we do all of it, and it takes time. It takes years for people to move through the whole process to move here.
Yeah. So, we started off by joining your boot camp. Like, I think that's the first step everyone should do. Like, can you tell us what you do in that boot camp and how someone can join that?
Yeah.
It starts like September 9th and through the 11th.
Yeah, that's right. It's coming up. This year's coming up. I only host it once a year. At the very beginning, I used to do it a couple times a year, but now it's only been once a year for a while now because it's a big deal. There's a lot of people. I think we had 20,000 people last year. And really, it's 3 days, and I cover really everything from positioning and understanding at the beginning of why you want to move to Italy. Is it really for you? Because it's not for everyone. So it's important to be honest with yourself and to have the real information at the start. And then I get into property and renting and where to live, the best places to live, how much it's going to cost, all those things. And then, of course, how you're going to get here. So visas, EU citizenship, all of those kinds of things. So it's 3 days. It's only 1 hour a day. It's in replay, but for a limited amount of time. And you can sign up on our website at smartmoveitaly.com. And it really is, it's totally free. That's really important to say. And it's really important that there's no strings attached to it. Of course, after it, we always open our membership up, which is now closed all year except for just after the boot camp. You can or you don't have to join it to come to the boot camp, but I really believe that the boot camp is the best place to get the most information to set you in the right track to get here, to get to Italy, if indeed that ends up where you want to be.
No, I couldn't agree more. And it was fun for me because I learned about Smart Move just before the boot camp. And it was fun to sit in my kitchen in Minneapolis back then. And just like, it was over lunch. Like I would take my lunch break and join the webinar. And it was great. And I remember, one of the things you emphasize, and you kind of alluded to it already a little bit here, is the importance of knowing your why. And can you talk a little bit about that and why it's so important and, why you emphasize this with your members?
Well, because I always say your why is the deep reason of making the move to Italy, really anything that you do, but for Italy in particular. And this kind of dovetails back to what you asked me about La Dolce Vita, is because life is life wherever you are. And you have to understand what is motivating you to move to Italy. If it is only because you watched a great movie and you have a dreamy idea of it and haven't really taken the time, by the time you get, to learn about it, by the time you get to Italy and life settles in, it's, there's going to be a disconnect for you. And if you really have, sorry, David, if you really have a strong why, if your why is because it makes me feel healthier, or because I belong there, or because I'm feeling trapped where I am and I feel freer there, I've experienced it, I know what I want, and you have all these things in place. When you hit those hard times in Italy, which you will because you're a foreigner in a foreign land, when you hit those hard times, you'll be able to count on your why. It'll get you through because you'll remind yourself the reason behind your move.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just want to say that a lot of people are romanticizing the move and then forget that, no, you actually live here and you build your own life here. So that's all I want to say.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that we went through and, what it took us, but I think explain to our audience that, what are the signs that someone is ready, like to go from the idea to move to the actual planning process. I think that's what are most people doing.
Yeah, how do you know? How do you know you're ready?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a different point for everyone. And I think to know when you're not ready is when you're completely and totally fed up with wherever you are. So it becomes almost a knee-jerk reaction. That's not the good time to move, and to make the decision for anything. And it's a journey for people. So it happens at different points. Really, for me, when you know you're ready is when you can visualize yourself. I'm really big on that too. So when you visualize yourself waking up in Italy every single day, and that's where your new life is, how do you feel about the people you've left behind? How, does it make you feel incredibly sad and nervous, and you don't even want to tell them, and then you have to explore, why is that? Are you ready? You're not ready yet because you still have obviously something you have to take care of back home. Or have you really taken the time in a very pragmatic way to look at your finances? How are you going to support yourself? Are you being honest with yourself how much it's going to cost you to live here? Not falling for the, hey, I can buy a €1 house and live on 10 grand a year, any of that kind of romanticized content. So when you have to go through you have to do the work. And at the end of the plan, when you've done all the work and your questions, you won't answer all of them because you don't know what you don't know. But once you get to the point of really feeling confident and doing the work, then you're ready to make the move. But I want to say one thing too, is that make the move. When you feel that point, do it, because time is short. We all know that. Get to Italy, but always know in your back of your mind, it's not like you've closed a door, locked it, and you can never go back. Right? I mean, it's not a forever, oh my God, it's not what I thought it was. Now I'm embarrassed. I can't go home again. If you've done the work and it doesn't work out, or the experience is finished and you're wanting another adventure, then move on from it. But not doing it, I think, is more of a tragedy than doing it and it not working out.
No, we couldn't agree more. I mean, that's kind of what we were saying to ourselves even as we got on the plane a year ago is, well, if it doesn't work out, we can always go home. And, what an adventure this was. But it kind of leads me into too, like, what qualities do you see in people who thrive here and really make the most of living in Italy? Is there a certain persona you've come across that you're saying, yep, you're the right person to make such a journey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I see them crystal clear coming a mile away. I really do. So yeah, the people who really thrive here and succeed here are usually the people who, again, have done the work, but also people who are open-minded and have embraced the idea that the roles will be reversed for them than it was in their home country. They are the foreigner in the new land. And the land isn't going to change for them. They have to adapt. And if they have not just words saying, yeah, I understand that, I can do that, but if they've actually demonstrated through the process, which has ups and downs, as you know, things don't go the right way, you have to pivot. And if even in the early stages, the pivots are really uncomfortable for them or they're pushing back too much, these are all really big red flags. These are signs that will be, getting through your whole life here as time goes on is going to be a challenge for you. So that's really important. And, the people that I see right away, sometimes I'll have calls, and at the end of the call, I know there's no way this person's going to make it in Italy. Those are the people that are continually questioning why things are done the way they are here. You're never going to get that answer.
My dad, when he was last visiting, why do they do this? Why do they have that? Why can't I go to the store at 2:00 in the afternoon?
Yeah. You have to have that nice balance. It doesn't mean give up everything that you love and you like. If you like a big clothes dryer and all of the things that, the comforts you're used to, that's fine. And you can adapt to that here. But, it's that really deeper thing, that acceptance of that you are a foreigner and this is not, you are the new immigrant. It's reverse.
Oh, I say it frequently to people, and it's with, many things in life, but you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have a strong aversion to that, like that's really kind of a big leap.
I think that's good. And I think people who are well-traveled as well tend to make the move a little easier too. It's easier.
Yeah. So we, before we found you, we were, we joined some Facebook group pages, from expats here, expats there, and stuff like that. That's how kind of we found you. But every now and then I read a post like, I want to move to Italy, but I've never been there. How do you respond to that? I mean, I don't know. What would you say to somebody like that?
You would be surprised how many people do move and have never been here. I mean, you would really be surprised how many people we speak to who say, I've never been, but we had one. I remember one lady, she's here, she's still here. And I thought she was completely out of her mind, but we surprised her or we helped and supported her. And she's fine and happy here, but she's a single older woman. I can't remember her age, definitely, 70-ish. Wanted to move to Rome. She'd only been to Rome once, not really, because it was a stopover at the airport. And
it's like...
And she wanted to move to Rome, and she wanted an unfurnished apartment. I mean, no kitchen, Davide, unfurnished apartment. And she had 6 or 7 cats or something. Something like this. So this was a real challenge for us to find her place to live, and not the greatest budget. So she was on a budget as well. So we ended up getting her ERV and her property unfurnished. But I was so paranoid and worried about her that we actually made an arrangement with a side arrangement that she didn't even know of with the owner to help her with her furnishings. Because, she didn't speak Italian, nothing. How is she even going to get a kitchen? And she's older and she really didn't understand what that means here, right? How hard it is to do one simple thing like get a toaster, even, right? When you're new. Anyway, we set her up. Everything was fine. And she's thriving. Because she's obviously loves cats. And so she does a lot of stuff at this cat sanctuary there. But, and she'd never been here and she made it. And as some people, I think that's the right thing to do? No, I don't think you should. I think you should spend some time here at least once. To get something.
I was already nervous getting on the plane and making this move, having been to this country, I don't even know how many times, over the last 25 years. And I just couldn't even imagine, let's just pick up and go based on, my feeling of Italy and movies and it's going to be great, I'm sure.
I know, but maybe I guess you could do the reverse analysis, paralysis through analysis. Sometimes if you know too much or you've been here too many times, you start questioning everything. I always say that you don't know what you don't know. And that goes in both ways, I guess, right? It's in your favor and against you.
True. So, you mentioned the cats, but what are some of the other biggest challenges you see people face when they decide to move to Italy? I mean, of all the steps, and there are so many, but what are some of those big hurdles?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's the settling inside. It's just the reversal of the roles of always being the outsider, the foreigner, and, their inability to communicate well, just the disconnect from their own life. And at first that's very euphoric. It feels very freeing, but to build your community after it can be a challenge. And then there's the practical things, of course, that we always talk about. Like I say, you get one thing done in a day, you're happy in Italy. It's a big success. You can't have a whole day of chores. It'll never get done. So there's those practical things that people struggle with. But I think sometimes, especially, I help a lot of single women, older women that, I'm not single, but I'm the older women. Maybe they relate to me, but we help a lot of them move here on their own. And I think it's about, maybe they're worried about the loneliness or being alone. And for some people that struggle a little bit with making friends, or maybe they're a little more introverted, it can be a challenge. But also, I'm going to just sort of argue with myself, because the opposite. I just spoke to somebody yesterday who wants to move to Lucca. And he said he's 25 years in the American town he's in. And he says, you know what? He says, I have a bigger community and I'm more active in Lucca on the times that I go as a vacation than I have in my 25 years in my hometown.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think maybe everybody's in the same boat. They're all super happy to be here.
Well, so how can Smart Move Italy help to kind of overcome these hurdles, these obstacles that everyone has some obstacles. We had obstacles and you somewhat helped to overcome those. So.
Well, in many ways, you gave us practical advice we needed to know. And, I always tell people just even knowing the list of questions to be asking, whether you have like all the answers specifically or not, or can point us to other ones. But in many cases, whether it was you personally or other people or just the community, it was also therapy at times where we needed the encouragement and be like, okay, we're not crazy. We're not the only ones feeling this way. So it was a little bit of both of like the practical and just the shoulder to cry on or just support.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it really is about community. In this world now, and in this bootcamp, I'm going to talk a lot about ChatGPT and the information you can find on there, which some of it's good. Courses and all of these kinds of things isn't where you're going to what you're really going to need in the future here. What you're going to need is community, and you need support, and you need to know that it's not just you feeling the way you're feeling. And it's not just you going through and experiencing these things, that everybody else goes through the same thing, maybe in a little different way, but it's the same pattern. And, for me, the membership, a New Life in Italy membership is really what I know. There's people in there who've been there for years, like 5 or more years. And even though they're settled and living here and happy and speak Italian and do everything that they need to do, they just love the community. They love the connection and to share their experiences. And I think that this is invaluable for new people when they arrive here. I really do. I think that's the most important part of it all.
I think that, for us, it was like to have a partner like Smart Move Italy was very valued because if we had a question, then we knew the answer. And even if the answer wasn't comfortable, like it wasn't, we were hoping for this and that. And, again, I mentioned before, we joined a lot of the expats groups on Facebook, and you will get to one question, you will get 5,000 answers. And then you didn't know which one was the right one. And to me, that was
having a trusted source and confidence. And I feel like you and your team did a great job of not just having answers, but supporting them and making us feel confident in them. So I think that was wonderful.
Yeah. And I don't, as you know, you've known me long enough, I don't really flower things up. It's just is what it is. If there's a problem, we can get around it. If the answer's not what you want, let's see if there's a different way. But, I just think you just can move forward much better if you have the truth.
Yep.
Exactly.
Totally agree. So let's step back in a little bit of the bigger picture of Italy. And I was kind of curious myself as Dav and I were chatting about this in the car as we were preparing. And I'm like, how has Italy changed over the years? Was it easier to come here 10 years ago? Was it harder? What's been kind of the trend or the trajectory of moving to Italy?
It is changing. I'm telling you, really good question. And I think that for me, the pivot, so Italy's changing in a few ways. If we're looking at it from, an immigration point of view and a visa point of view, it is starting to become a little more rigid for sure. I mean, there people are still coming here with visas, but the requirements are getting a little more strict. They're scrutinizing applications across the board in all countries everywhere because we work all over the world. So we see this from consulates from the US and Canada and, even in Singapore, we're all over the world. So we're starting to see this trend happening, whether they're anti-immigration or they're just being a little more picky. I'm not sure what the reason is, but this is happening for sure. From a lifestyle point of view, it's getting a little easier, which I'm going to say tongue in cheek because it's still Italy. But we're starting to see, and I think COVID did this because we're starting to see a lot more things that you can do online. I mean, 10 years ago, you had to pay your bills at the post office or at your bank. You couldn't do them online with PayPal. These things are totally different now. We didn't have this bid, which of course we still don't really have very well anyway. That's a bit of a, so anyway, for those listening, this is just an electronic thing that's supposed to help us work with the government. But I don't think there's ever anything that'll help us work with the government. But we're starting to see more electronic, more advances in that way to help make life a little bit easier here. So that's getting better. We have home delivery. There's no way we would have delivery before COVID. I mean, just no way. There was clearly butcher, baker, candlestick maker. You had to go to every single one to get everything you did. And so those things, the ease of life, it's getting, a little bit more like North America, I would say.
I love our Amazon guys and our our FedEx and stuff. And they're so friendly. Like you open the door and they're like so happy to like hand you your package. And like, okay, I don't think I got such smiles from when I was in the US.
I think they know us by now by my first name.
Well, that's in the countryside too. I remember that in Cortona, the same thing. But in Florence, they whip it across the maybe not the same. It depends on their day. But yeah, you're right. The Amazon's a great example. Everybody I know uses. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but it's easier to buy something on Amazon than to go out sometimes to some of these stores, because in Italy it takes a long time to shop still because customer service is not changed. It's still Italian, which is slow. Yeah.
So you hit on immigration before, and I have my own opinion, but I want to know your opinion. What do you think Italians think about immigrants, or how does the Italian government feel about it? And has it changed since you started it?
Well. Yeah, I think honestly, from my point of view, from the people that I speak to on a daily basis, I've noticed a shift. And, quite frankly, it's a shift since last November, coming from the American side for sure. There is more of a worry of the reputation or the impression of Americans in Europe and certainly in Italy. And that might be valid, a little more valid than it used to be for, all the reasons we know. But I think overall, Italians, in my opinion, still have a little bit of rosy glasses when they think about America. And they think, the idea is that, all Americans are super, super rich. So, Italians are always interested in that or, doing business with that. But I think there is for immigration, I think that there's still this wave, which there is in probably all countries, of a resistance to immigration. Italians are incredibly, as you're Italian. The Italians seem to be very patriotic, and they're very protectionist of their culture and their people. And you are either Italian or you're not. It doesn't matter how long you've lived here or not. So they're protective of that. But I think it all still comes down to the people, Davide. I think it comes down to the person who's made the move and the person they're talking to and who they are as people, on how they're going to receive you. I don't think there's been a huge change. I know there's been a change in the motivations for people moving here right now, and maybe some impression of people, how they perceive. And I'm only talking about Americans because I'm also Canadian, right? I'm Canadian British. So I get a totally different response when I say I'm Canadian. But of course, you're American, and I work with a lot of Americans as well. So I hear from them their responses. They don't seem to have any resistance at all. So I think it's okay still.
No, I think you're right. I think the Italians look at Americans like you kind of described it, even though we're not too far away from what the Italians are, especially in Northern Italy. They I think they do the grind too, a little bit differently than what the Americans do. And I think that, everywhere we go and we talk to people, they always welcome the Americans or Canadians, and for that matter of fact. And I think lately the government has changed a little bit, especially who can become Italian, so that changed a little bit. But other than that, I think to me, because I've been coming here since I'm little, hasn't changed much as far as for immigrants from other countries, especially from poorer countries. I think that sentiment is still there, but like I would say, for Americans or Canadians, I think they're kind of very welcome here. So,
I just always wonder if they're going to get tired of us, though. Like, I mean, there's such this, I guess, trend or romanticizing of, and a growing interest in coming to Italy. And, they've been very welcoming to us. And so I just always think on a grander scale, though, if at some point is it like too much, or are they like, oh my God, all these Americans are coming here, they're taking over.
Well, it depends. I mean, it really, in statistics, I don't have them in front of me, but I know for sure the American immigrant that's coming here, moving from the States, it's just a sliver. There's not that many in the scope of who actually moves to Italy. So who are immigrating to Italy, it's very, very small. But in some pockets, like in Tuscany and certain areas in Tuscany, that seems heavier than that.
Yeah.
But in reality, there really aren't that many. And I think even from the Canadian point of view, I remember reading this not too long ago up in Aosta Valley up north, like the French side north, there was one Canadian family registered. So although it feels like, oh my God, I'm hearing my language everywhere, they might not be actually living here. So it's quite same with citizenship, Davide. I know you brought up this change. It was horrible, the changes. I mean, it cut about 80% of the applications, qualifying applications are completely dead in the water now, which is quite sad. It's hard because people were born Italian, identify as Italian, and now because of the new laws, they can't. And, we had clients in our citizenship that literally sold everything, came to Italy, and on the plane flying in to apply for their citizenship, the law changed. Arrive in Italy, cannot stay more than 90 days and have no pathway, no job, no way to work, not enough money for a visa or qualifying, no home back home. So there's been impacts that the decisions the government has made over these kinds of things have been really quite dramatic and devastating for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're almost at the end of this interview. And as you know, if you listen to our podcast, we always conclude the interview with tips from Tanya. Tips from Tanya. No, actually, Sam. But this time we have tips. We want to ask you for a tip. What advice do you have for somebody that is dreaming to move to Italy and maybe it's still on the fence? What's a piece of advice you can give that to them?
Learn as much as you can, but don't go crazy about it. So don't think you have to know everything before you make the decision, just enough to take you to the next step.
I think,
and of course, go to the boot camp if you're listening to it.
There you go.
I mean, that sounds like a plug, but I'm serious. That's the first way. It's a great entry level to get lots of information for free.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Your guidance made all the difference in our move, and it's been such a joy to celebrate one year with you.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I love chatting with you guys. Thanks again.
Grazie mille, Sam. For our listener, if you're dreaming or actually thinking of your own move, definitely check out the Smart Move Italy Bootcamp. September 9th through the 11th. We are, like I said, we're going to put some notes and the link so you can join that.
Yes, and I can just say we personally can say it was the key to turning our dream into a reality. And yes, as Davide said, you're going to find all the details in our show notes. Well, amici, that brings us to the end of this very special episode. 1 year in Italy, 1 year of experience Italy with friends, and we couldn't be more grateful to have shared it with you.
And if there's a lesson this year that we learned was that the dolce vita didn't wait for us in Italy, but we had to create it by changing our lifestyle and embracing the change and celebrating life. If you have questions about this episode, join us on our Facebook page, Experience Italy with Friends. Drop us a line. If you like what you hear, please share our podcast with your amicis. And if you're a podcaster yourself and like how we sound, I can help you with that. Contact me at aspproducer.com.
And wherever you are listening from, grazie mille for your support and for letting us share Italy with you. I'm going to be heading to the Amalfi Coast next week, and we'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
Alla prossima!
Ciao amici. Arrivederci. We hope you've enjoyed Experience Italy with Friends. If you like the podcast, remember to follow us and leave a review letting us know what you found to be the most helpful. And if you want expert advice or assistance in creating your own immersive and authentic experience in Italy, visit us at www.amicivacations.com.